Hey, welcome to this lesson video for talking about investments with connection to home mortgages. Since some of you might not be familiar with home loans or mortgages, let's just kind of talk about some vocabulary. I know this page seems kind of daunting, but I'll kind of paraphrase for you. First of all, let me grab a highlighter. A mortgage is simply just a type of loan that's specifically for buying a house. So you might have heard your parents talking about, oh, the mortgage payment or something. That's just the monthly payment for the loan that they bought their house with. Now there are two types of interest rates that you could get when you get a home loan. A fixed rate mortgage means that your interest rate, your initial interest rate, is never going to change. It's going to be the same each month. Even if in the economy rates are rising or falling, if you have a fixed rate at the beginning of your loan, that's what you'll have through the remainder. An adjustable rate means it will obviously change with what's happening in the economy. Okay? Something else that we're going to come across in some of our questions is a word called equity. Equity, actually I want to change this definition on here. So how we're going to define equity is going to be the amount of the mortgage that has been paid. Okay, so however much your parents have paid off the mortgage, that's how much equity they have in their home. I'd rather go with that definition. I think it's a little easier to understand. Now, there are things called an equity loan or something like a second mortgage, where if you have a house loan but you're needing to get another loan from the bank, it might be something called like an equity loan, where what you've paid on your house, the bank uses as collateral, as a promise to pay back this new loan. If you don't pay back that loan, then they can come after your house and force you out. Okay? So that's what's happening if you've come up or heard about situations like that. Now, a few things that we want to cover before we actually dive into some questions. First of all, remember the A value in our different formulas that we've been talking about. For example, the compound interest formula. Remember that A is the principal plus the interest. Okay? Another thing we want to talk about that might ask us to find the amount paid of a mortgage, or in other words, what's the equity of the home? Amount paid of mortgage. How do we find that? Well, we're going to take the A value and subtract the principal, and that'll give me the amount that's paid. Okay. Now, similarly, I might ask you for the amount that's still owed on the mortgage. How am I going to find that? I'm going to take the amount that my loan was for, the principal, and I'm going to subtract the amount that's already been paid, and obviously that difference is what's still to be owed. Okay, so let's look at our first problem. After 3 years and 6 months of monthly mortgage payments on their 15-year, $135,000 mortgage at 4.67%, the Caldwells have to relocate to Memphis, Tennessee, and must sell their country home. How much do they still owe on their mortgage? Well, since it's a monthly payment, we're compounding 12 times a year, so we're going to use this formula, A equals P times 1 plus R over N, raised to the NT. So A, P, R, N. Let's kind of talk about the values that I know. I know that the loan amount was for $135,000. I know that the rate converted, move your decimal 2 places, 0.0467. Since it's monthly payments, I know that N is 12. Now I'm given 2 times, 3 years and 6 months versus 15. Well, ask yourself, are these people staying there 15 years? No, they have to relocate. So that 15 means nothing because they're not staying there that long. So this is my time, 3 years and 6 months. But T is expressed in years, so 3 years and 6 months is the same as 3.5 years. So make sure you use 3.5 as your T. Okay, so we're gonna find A. So let me change color so it's a little easier to see. A equals, okay, to spare you some time, I just went ahead and wrote it all out. So I plugged all my letters in for, my numbers in for the letters, excuse me. And now it's just gonna be plugging and checking into my calculator. One thing as the exponent, you're gonna do 12 times 3.5. So I usually just kind of figure out that multiplication first real quick, and that's just equivalent to raising it to a power of 42. Now since I can't show you my calculator screen, I'm gonna kind of code what I'm doing first, okay? So I'm gonna type in this fraction first, 0.0467 divided by 12. Then once I get that number on my screen, I'm then gonna add 1 to it. So then plus 1. Thirdly, I'm going to raise it to a power of 42. So caret key or your power key to the 42nd power, hit equal. And then lastly, I'm gonna multiply by 135,000. And so my A value should be 158,921, and 2 decimal places, since we're talking about money, 0.5. Now, A really means nothing to me. How can these people only be here 3.5 years and this number is bigger than what the house was they bought it for? Well, remember, A isn't what we're going for. We first want to find the amount paid, so we take A minus the principal, and then the amount paid, we do principal minus that number. So let me real quick subtract my P, my principal, 135,000, and see what I get. 158,921.05 minus 23,921.05. Now I'm going to label this. This is what's paid. Is that what I'm asked for? How much do they still owe? I've got to take the principal number. So let me come over here now. I have to take the principal value, which was 135,000, the initial amount of my loan, minus the amount paid, 23,921.05. Okay, and figure out that difference. That's what I still owe on the house after 3.5 years in of paying the mortgage. $111,078.95. So this is what's owed, which is what I'm asked to find. So this is my final answer. Okay, let's do one more. You bought a house for $185,000. You have a fixed mortgage rate, so your interest rate does not change. You have a monthly mortgage payment, and the rate you received during the purchase was 4.3%. You've decided that you do not want to pay more than $90,000 in interest. How long do you need to pay it off in order to pay no more than $90,000? So let's figure out the values that I know. Well, by the last sentence saying how long do you need, obviously I'm trying to find the time. So my principal was the initial amount of my loan, $185,000. My rate converted, 0.043. Since I have monthly payments, my N is 12. But if I'm solving for T, how can I have A empty? Well, remember we said A was the principal plus the interest. Well, there's my principal, and I mentioned that I do not want to pay more than $90,000 in interest. So that's my interest number. So if I add the P value plus the I value, I would get 275,000. So then let me plug this into our compound interest formula. A equals P, parenthesis 1 plus the rate divided by N to the N times T. Okay, so what can I do here? Well, not much. In the parenthesis, I can, do the division and add 1. So let me do that. 0.043 divided by 12 equals plus 1. I'm going to round it 3 decimal places. 0.00, that 3 is going to round up to a 4. Now, maybe the next thing that looks good to do would be to divide by 185,000. Okay, so 27, 185. I'm gonna round 3 decimal places. 1.86, and that's gonna equal the 1.004 to the 12t. Now, I'm gonna add something here as an aside real quick. When we were in class a couple weeks ago, okay, we solved an exponential equation like this. 2 to what power equals 11? And if you don't remember, here's what we did. We converted it to log form. We took a base of 2, followed by 11, and we set that equal to x. So all we did, the x and the 11 switched places, and we just threw the word log in front. But then we also talked about how to get that value in your calculator as a decimal. Take a log of 11 divided by log of 2, and whatever you get, that'll be your x value, okay? So I'm gonna apply that over here because kind of right now I'm stuck. There's nothing else I can do. This is kind of backwards from the example I just showed you, but it's gonna be log of the base 1.004 followed by the 1.486, and that will equal 12t. Whoa, there we go, whoa. Okay, now in my calculator, I'm gonna do log 1.486 divided by log 1.004, and that's gonna equal 12t. So let me type this in my calculator, log 1.486. Be careful, if your calculator pops up a parenthesis, make sure you end it before your division. Log 1.004 equals, keep that number on your screen and just think about, how could I get t by itself? I'm going to do that by dividing by 12. So once you do that in your calculator first, keep that number on your screen, and then divide it by 12. And so roughly I have a t value of 8.27, so a little over 8 years. If I can make my house payments and pay off my mortgage in a little over 8 years, I can spend $90,000 or less than interest. So some people kind of figure out the max value they want to pay for a home, which would be $275,000. They say, you know what, this place isn't worth more than that. So let me get it paid off so I don't pay more than that. And we can figure out how long it would take. It would take a little over 8 years. Okay, in your interest packet, you should be doing a couple more problems for homework, so I'll leave you with that. The next video in line would be the interest using Excel, so you might want to check that one out. Keep learning, have fun, and I'll see you next time.